Yeah.
That recording thing always gets me.
Yeah, I noticed it last week. I'll hit the button and I'll look at you guys and it's just silent. We're all just looking at the screen. Oh shit.
I don't know what to say after
Recording
the
in
robo voice,
progress.
man.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like, if you guys have anything to start with, that's always fine. Especially this week. Like there's no house on the cover. So I mean,
Yeah.
I've got nothing to
Yeah,
talk about.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Um,
Chicago's always had interesting. I mean, it's mostly in their later albums, or at least just not this album, but they have their distinct designs that they do on everything, which you can see remnants of here, like on the back of the
just the
vinyl.
name, right?
Yeah,
Chicago.
it's just the name.
Pretty plain.
Yeah, that's it. It's just it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. They got a very distinct, and noticeable. Easy to see. Whatever. Anyways,
Yeah.
And I love on this album in particular, it's called Chicago Transit Authority. Like every single one after this, it's Chicago 1, Chicago 2, Chicago 3, Chicago 4. But
mhm.
this one is Chicago Transit Authority because that was their band name
Yeah,
before they
so
left
Right.
cool.
Chicago. I believe they were about to suffer legal action from the Chicago Transit Authority in Chicago. So they
Yes.
changed
That's a
their name.
bummer.
Yeah. Don't mess with the government funded or publicly funded institutions.
Don't mess with CTA. Yeah, man. CTA is a joke now, but uh, yeah, there's a lot of problems with them. Um, so cool. I think it's yeah. I mean, I don't really know where to begin, but I think definitely one of my favorite Chicago albums, if not my favorite. I think it's between
Wow.
this and Chicago 5 for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Jack,
this
how
is
big
absolutely.
of, I don't know if you said this already, but like how big of a Chicago fan are you? Like how, you don't need to give me a number, but like how highly do they rank amongst your favorite classic rock
I
bands?
don't know. I mean, they're not way up there, but I'm a casual listener. I love a big chunk of their songs. But that being said, you know, they have a lot of crap in my opinion. I mean, it's just not my music taste. Like it's a lot of like, not to say Barry White's bad, but it's that type of genre. Like I don't know, it just their later stuff is very different from their early stuff, and I think it's really evident with this album. Like, for instance, like you would never hear something like freeform guitar on like their later stuff. They went through a big transition, and credit to them,
Yeah.
they've been like they've been superstars. Like they're a very famous band with who has made probably a ton of money, and they probably love making the music they do. It's just not my taste. But the early stuff is like really good. I
Yeah,
saw them.
absolutely.
I saw them live with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and like years ago,
Whoa.
actually at Jiffy Lube Inky. I was in like front row with like my whole family.
Oh
Um,
shit.
it was a
With your whole
really
family.
like one of
That's
the coolest
awesome.
concerts ever. These
Dude,
guys,
yeah,
Earth,
that
Wind, and Fire.
huge big band. Wow, that must have been insane.
It was really great, especially just like with all the brass and woodwind live. That was really cool.
Oh man.
So
Yeah, and like that's what I love about the early like so many of these songs sound so orchestral, like so
yeah,
jazz influenced. Like all these guys are so talented. Like I'm
Definitely a
pretty
big
No
sure
jazz.
doubt.
Yeah.
I think like the guitarist Terry Kath was Jimi Hendrix said he was better than him. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure. Like
yeah,
their talent is undeniable as musicians, and that's where they shine. Like literally everybody solos in all these songs. What? Look at these run times.
yeah. The
Six
solo is
minute
so
start,
Look
cool,
at
man.
these run
8 minutes,
times, man.
dude, and you just listen to the whole thing. Like
Um,
introduction is definitely my favorite part of this album because
oh
it's
yeah,
literally the introduction to Chicago.
yeah.
It's their
That's
debut.
that's cool. I love that. Oh yeah, Dan, you start.
All right, I'll go first. But yeah, introduction is definitely like my favorite song on the album. It's a song very close to my heart. Like my father is a huge Chicago fan, so I heard like all the stuff growing up, all the early stuff. He's like-minded. He's a big early Chicago fan. Later on, they definitely fall off. Um, but this album, yeah, like that first side one is definitely my MVP.
Yeah,
I would say those like three songs in a row, and I mean it extends into questions 67 and 68. I mean all of it's really good, but those three intro songs really set up the band like perfectly. You hear probably every instrument in those 3 songs, probably in the first song even. And yeah, always listen to that. Always listen to all 6 minutes and 35 seconds of it.
Yeah, it's so cool. Do you have a least
Uh,
favorite, I think? Yeah,
Um,
you had to
if I
pick
had to
one.
say least favorite, maybe Liberation. I kind of lose it with just how much they jam in there. By the end of like it is a double album. It's like a first
Yeah,
release. Like I don't know if too many artists do that, but they
yeah.
probably had a lot of material built up. And Liberation, as much as I love jam, and sometimes I've heard a little bit too much horn by the end of that.
I think that's a fair take.
Yeah.
yeah,
It does get a
can I
little,
piggyback off that real quick?
yeah, yeah.
So yes, I would agree. The first three are my favorite. Like side one is my favorite part of the album, and like listening on Spotify, I had a feeling, but I didn't really think. I didn't think about it too much really. That those first three songs would have been one side. So that's a really complete side, and I thought that was really cool. I liked all the instrumentation in it. I think it's like the most conventional structure compared to some of the jazzier stuff later on. So like those
Mhm.
front three are definitely my favorite and the part of the album I really liked. My least favorite was probably the rest of it.
Oh,
No, that's I'm just being a dick, but it did get progressively like more freeform. I
Yeah.
think probably right around freeform guitar. I don't know if they did that on purpose. They probably did, but
Fun fact,
yeah, and
that
then
song was
like
one take.
yeah, yeah, and then it just gets a lot looser after that. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but yeah, like Liberation was a bit much for me.
wow, man. Jack, you want to go? I think because you're,
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. I really do think they pull it back with side three though. Like, I think
yeah,
Yeah,
It
I
does
think
come
it
back a
kind of
little
ebbs
bit,
and
yeah.
flows. Like they go into freeform guitar, and you have to have your expectations set for a song like that. Like, and I respect it, and I think it's really cool.
Mhm.
And then I think South California Purples is a great song. Like it's really great. But what is like such an all-star for me is just like covering a Steve Winwood song, I'm a Man.
I
I'm a Man
know.
is such a bitchin' song. Like it is such a cool song. Like it's just like kind of it's badass. Like you can strut down the street to that song because you are a man. And like that is just such a cool song. And it just hits so hard, I think. And it really like I think I'm a Man really like holds the second disc together and is just like such an all-star and makes me want like, all right, let's hear more Chicago. Like after that song, like that's I think it's like one of the best covers of I'm a Man. I think it beats the original recording. Who is it? Steve Winwood's band. Um hold on. I should know this. Spencer Davis
you
group.
should
That's like
know
the
this.
Oh, he's Spencer
um,
Davis. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that
Same
was like
group
the
that does Give
original.
Me Some Lovin', right?
Yeah, give me some lovin'. Yeah.
Can't name another one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you got one. Nice.
Yeah. Um, and there he is. What's up, Nige?
Mr. Hot Take himself.
Oh, wow.
Oh, strutting in.
He's a man, everybody. Here he is with his hot take.
10 minutes late. Not bad.
Yeah. Anyways, aside for it's kind of, I mean, like, you know, there, it's like a recording of the National Democratic Convention, and then it kind of goes into some days cool. Liberation, yeah, you know, there's always going to be a part that isn't the best on every album, you know, and I'd say it probably could have, I think they probably could have closed it with Someday, um, and left Liberation if I had to choose. Um, that being
Yeah.
said, yeah, I'm with Dan, like, and I guess Seamus and probably everybody that like side one is just like phenomenal. In terms of like favorite Chicago songs in general, I go between Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is and Beginnings. I think
Yeah.
like the end of Beginnings when it's just like like that's it's so cool.
Yeah,
It's such an epic song. It just goes through all this entire like ballad and it's just like it's really, really
exactly.
well done. And
Those 3 songs, they just have such high highs and such low lows. Like it
yeah,
really covers so much ground
they really do.
musically,
And
you know.
I think you hit it. You said it really well, Dan. That like introduction is an introduction to the band Chicago, which is like that's a cool thought. Like that's just like here's Chicago and here's our sound, And what I love about Chicago is like they rely on like such a different set of instruments than the most of their like counterparts and most of their like peers in this genre and at this time that music was being made, which I think is just such a unique part of them. And I think like Dan said again, they're just like such respectful musicians. Like they deserve a lot of respect for like the amount of production that goes into this. So MVP, oh man, because it's just bitching. Also the name Chicago. I live in Chicago. I like it. That's a good song,
right? Yeah, like almost all of them are from Chicago, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. Best song I think is Beginnings, and least favorite song is Liberation.
Sweet.
Nigel, how are you, man? How's dinner?
Oh my goodness.
What'd you have?
Oh my goodness.
You're looking
I
fresh.
left for
Nothing.
I left for dinner.
You didn't
like,
eat anything.
Oh, that's
like,
right.
before 6 o'clock. It's been
Minutes.
like a 3-hour adventure waiting for food for like over 50 minutes from ordering. It was
she worth it?
We won't get into it.
Oh,
You
that's
should have taken the call
answer.
from the
I
restaurant.
don't think it wasn't that kind of dinner. What'd you say?
You should have taken the call from the restaurant, just
Yeah.
going live.
I would have, but I would have roasted it. You know, we got to keep our avenues for sponsorship open, so I won't say any names.
Great call, Nigel. I love the forward thinking.
Yeah, I'm very business minded. Yeah, it was awful. Almost as awful as this album.
Yeah. Wait, Nigel, before you go, let me slide in before you throw out a bunch of hate speech.
Okay.
Before you just absolutely skewer this thing.
Yeah, because I'm on the same train as Seamus, Jack, and Dan. A little bit different, but
boy.
you know, pretty on board with everything they've said. Does anybody really know what time it is? Awesome song. I think Jack before has said sounds like a Michael Bublé song, which is kind of funny. But for me, easy MVP.
Kind of a turn off, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I know. But Jack said it, not me. But the my MVP and like something I'm surprised that you guys didn't really shout out is this whole side 3. Not whole, well, yeah, whole side.
I love it.
I mean, but specifically Freeform Guitar and South Carolina Purples. I think that was.
You like freeform
really,
guitar?
Oh my goodness.
It kind of reminded me of like this, like Eddie Van Halen tones-ish, this like Dark Star.
I knew you were going to compare those.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
It was like a little bit emerging from like this darkness into this pretty hard riff and drums. I thought in South Carolina Purples, California. I'm saying Carolina twice now, but I mean, yeah, I have to remember that this is 1969, just like pretty innovative. Reminded me a lot of the music that I find awesome now between the Van Halen and the Dead reference. And the last thing with South California Purples, did you guys catch that I'm the Walrus little reference? Or yeah.
That was
Awesome.
So you said this came out in 69, so that would have been like a year after that came out. Kind of cool. It's like a sample, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, like pretty innovative.
That's
in my
another
mind.
point. If I may, side 4, like they do really innovative stuff at the time, good or bad. It's innovative. They sampled the DNC, and then someday they're like auto-tuned, which is crazy for 69.
Yeah.
I didn't love it personally. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but it was really interesting. Like it's an interesting decision that they made.
I wonder what the studio.
Here's what your guys' thoughts are on that.
I don't really remember it.
Okay, good thoughts.
Yeah. Not a memorable song. That's the one with the chanting,
that's
right?
the point. It's not memorable. Okay.
That has the chanting in it?
The beginning of it does.
Yeah.
What were they saying?
The whole world's watching or something
Whole
like
world's
that.
watching. What was that in reference to? I don't know what happened in the NC of
flipping
August
idea, man.
I think it was anti-Vietnam like protests.
That makes sense.
And they like attacked protesters, I believe.
Oh, they were anti-Vietnam? Damn.
Yeah, anti-war in Vietnam.
They weren't pro-Vietnam. That's it's kind of racy, you know.
Hey, anti-war. I misspoke.
Can we cancel Chicago right here and now?
Oh God, you find a new place to stay for the day.
You're gonna have to move, Jack. Cancel your city.
All right, let's hear it.
Nigel, floor is yours.
Oh my goodness. I have been listening to this album for too long.
Why? You didn't have to do that.
He hasn't listened to anything
You don't
else
have to
this
cram
week.
it in your ears.
Dude. I listen like every week when we pick an album, I listen to it all week. Not the only thing.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But I listen
yeah.
to it throughout
Clash.
the week. And like,
Just had it
oh
on
my
24/7 for the last 10 days.
I haven't slept.
The 200-hour loop of it.
Dude, this man is dedicated.
Dude, and the thing
Already
is, it's
thinking about
crazy because
sponsorships, not sleeping.
you would think like listening to it all week, I would know all the songs super well, but dude, I only got through it once because it's so fucking long on every song. Okay, so where should I start? I'll start with the positive stuff. I'll be a nice person. Poem 58.
I just about to have a whole up, let him cook moment.
Dude.
Let the man cook.
Poem 58 was, I would say, the best song on the album to me. That or South California. Let me make sure I'm getting these right this time. Yeah, South California.
Yeah,
Purples.
the internet absolutely tried to go after you on after that rubbish performance last week.
No, it wasn't last week. It was 2 weeks ago. All right.
2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
don't look at the YouTube comments, Nigel. Stay out of there.
Get your head in the game. No, I mean haters gonna hate, you know. People are excited about Koala Koala. That's all I have to say.
All right, let's hear more of this. Let's get back.
Yeah, so Poem 58 was pretty good. I like the jazzy aspect. The song's way too long though. And so a lot of the songs in this album are pretty like complex, like chord wise and melody wise, but they just don't sound good, like to me. And they have a lot of like switch ups and change ups and transitions. But it's like for me, right when you're about to like, sit into the groove of the song, it changes. And I don't think the transitions are good. And then it's something else that I also think is mediocre. So like, I don't know why they made all these songs so long. Liberation is all right.
Heavily rooted in jazz.
Yeah, it's a lot of jazz influence, and I do agree with you, Nigel, that the album isn't the most like, how do I phrase it? Isn't the most like well defined, and it doesn't have the most clear like direction through it, at least from my perspective. However, I think that was also just really representative of the time. Like, you see this with a lot of artists at this time, just experimenting with all like new technology. Like the Beatles were doing all this crazy stuff with technology to make these different sounds. And you guys aren't the Beatles. Like the White Album, yeah. And Magical Mystery Tour, they're doing crazy stuff on that album. So like I hear you and I agree with you. And I think I would just like keep this album in the context of 69.
You think I'm right?
But I do think you're right. But I want to
songs drag.
This album came out.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Don't age super well is I guess my point.
Yeah,
I just think that they didn't execute well. Like, there's so many things in this album where I feel like I see what they were going for, and then it just didn't sound good. Like freeform guitar, oh my goodness, that is garbage. That is so bad. Like, and the thing is, like, I love experimental music and I love like all kinds of music, but oh my, it wasn't even music. It's just like scratching the strings on his guitar for like 7 minutes.
Ever listen to like Bitches Brew by Miles Davis? It's kind of a similar takeaway. So he was rooted in jazz and then he just like went crazy, started going no time signature, making insane sounds. And I think like this is kind of similar to that, but it definitely is what it is. It's weird guitar sounds.
That might be part of the episode.
And it really is bad, but
it really is bad. Quote from Nigel.
So I'll do the, what is it, favorites? Okay, so like favorites are Poem 58 and South California Purples. Most overrated song is Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is? I think it's an okay song, but it's definitely like it's played way more often than I think it deserves. Like, I don't think it's that great of a song. I liked Listen as well. That one was decent. but like every other song, I wanted to skip it. Like,
You
if
know, like
not,
introduction or beginnings.
introduction's okay, but it's it's like I like the introduction to introduction. Like I like they
Yeah.
start off with the horns, and I mean I haven't heard all of your takes, but I like the way I guess Dan and Jack put it out. It's like an introduction to the band and like the instruments they use and stuff like that. And I can appreciate that, but I don't know, dude. This like was so hard to listen to this week. Like for me, like
Man.
it's by far the lowest tier album that we've listened to so far. And every time I listen to anything else, regardless of genre, this week I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not listening to this album anymore. I did, and it's funny. You know,
And it's irredeemable.
dude, and you know what's funny is like I was like, okay, like Chicago's a well-known band. Seamus
Right.
loves bands named after cities, so I was like, I'll check out I'll check out their like hits and like their most played songs on Spotify.
That was
don't
good.
do
All
that.
garbage too. It didn't
Bad
like
mistake,
a single
bad
one
mistake.
of them.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh
that's
my
not
goodness.
How
representative
bad
of
is
the
how
stuff.
bad is that
It's
stuff?
It's you like I've done that too. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. Like that's the type of shit
Yeah.
it's their like newer
Dude.
stuff. Yeah, stuff in the 80s.
Well, you do kind
I
of have
did
to
know
realize too, like sometimes what's going to be like the most listened to and the most popular is just like sometimes the cheesiest, simplest sound, or it almost sounds like a different genre, and that's just what's popular, and that's why it got so big. But it doesn't
Yeah.
make it their
Yeah.
best stuff.
When I
Yeah.
when I saw them live,
That's why. Sorry,
stuff.
that's why when I usually check out a band on like Spotify, I just like shuffle all their stuff. It can be a weird taste because like we're talking about here, like early stuff can be so much different than the newer stuff. It's hard to get a feel for the group. But yeah, I'm not too I'm honestly I meant to say this earlier. Like I'm not too familiar with Chicago. This was my first. I mean, obviously I know like 25 or 6 to 4 and Saturday in the Park. And that's like literally it. So this is my first real introduction to them. There's
Mm.
that word again.
Yeah. I will say, like when I saw them live, they played their old stuff. Like I think they are also in this. I think they understand that that's what the people want to hear. Like they were playing beginnings and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. I did notice that they're still active. At least most of the original band members are still active as Chicago, essentially.
Yeah.
But album was not for me. Like I said before, like I can appreciate some of the aspects of it. Like it was pretty, I guess, interesting or complex musically in the way they had transitions and the chord progressions and melodic progression and stuff like that. But I feel like a lot of it was kind of uninspired. And I know it's kind of a weird thing to say because it's so like, old. So it was early on and to an extent like set some trends, right? But like the guitar solos just didn't feel like they were coming from the heart, man. They just felt like insert generic guitar solo. The drum solos, like
I completely disagree for what it's worth, but
really,
Yeah. Nigel
I,
might have
I
missed it, but Jimi Hendrix said Terry Kath was a better guitar player than him.
well, he was probably high when he said that too, because he was wrong.
um, I think something we should point out is Lamb's voice is unbelievably good, and there's no denying that. His voice is just like beautiful.
That was
It's
literally my
rich.
next point. I don't like his voice at all.
Oh no, fucking way, man! You're out of
I don't like his voice. That was
That's out of
literally the
pocket.
next bullet point I was about to hit.
What don't you like about his voice?
It's just I don't know. He's not hitting any. I don't like I guess it's just the timbre. It sounds kind of thin to me, and it doesn't sound like emotional to me, I guess. I don't know. I don't like it.
It's crazy how we're coming from such different perspectives. But Seamus and Inky, I feel like I haven't heard from you guys in a while. What's your responses to Nigel?
We're both just not that familiar.
Gloves up.
Just silence.
No. Sorry, I was gonna let you have the floor, but I was just gonna say
I got nothing.
I may have oversold myself when I first spoke about it because I didn't want to lay into it like Nigel did. I mean, he just kind of destroyed that thing. So again, like what I said is true, like still feels true. Like the first three songs I thought were cool. And I think the biggest takeaway is that there is a lot of like that jazz influence, which kind of is like the real free form kind of lack of structure to the song. So like to Nigel's point, yeah, like there's a lot of transitions throughout the song, which is also probably just a factor of the songs being long. But
Yeah.
so again, like I can come from the angle of like appreciating it being different, them doing something different. I think there's probably people who could appreciate that stuff more than me. Uh, Probably people who are technically trained in music or maybe technically trained in jazz. But in terms of just like how it sounded to my ears, which is obviously how I'm gonna
Important.
rate an album,
Mhm.
uh, I also kind of found it kind of like clunky at times is the best way to describe it, where I
Yeah.
couldn't really like settle into a song or a couple songs in a row after
Feels
those first.
forced.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
They definitely have like major pivots in songs, so it can definitely pull you out of a groove. Like you said, for introductions, you love how it starts. And then 2 minutes in, it comes to a really slow, just like a horn solo. And I can see how that can pull people out. They give you something, they
Right.
kind of pull the rug out from under you. But I guess I'm just the kind of person who loves that about music.
Yeah, I like to see like, oh, what are they going to do next? Kind of.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
set this expectation that they are going to pull the rug out from under you, that they are
yeah,
going to be unpredictable.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the type of like music listener you are. If you like that, you like this album. If you don't, you don't.
Agreed.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't like the sound. Sorry.
I think an
Sorry, no.
interesting thought is, and we can add this to other episodes. Like, would you listen to this album again after this? I know we're not just sits. We skip him.
Oh,
Um,
not only would I never listen to this album again, I don't think there's a song in this album that I would even want to listen to again.
I listen to side one for like the rest of my life. I love it.
Yeah, that's on a desert. That's on a desert island. Side one.
Yeah,
Oh,
me
Wow.
too. Me too.
Not even
Wow.
close.
That is a huge that's a good way to rank just how much you appreciate that.
Desert
Yeah.
I
island
don't know if
status. Yeah.
I don't really know if I would listen to it again though, for being honest.
I
Yeah,
think I'd listen to
Seamus, you're on
sides
the right
one
path.
through three. You
This
brought to
might
the
be
dark
our
side, Nigel.
this
I've
might be our
What's
listened.
most
that?
polarizing album yet.
Yeah,
Oh, it
Dude, I did
easily
not
is.
like it.
Yeah.
I did not
Easily.
like it.
Now, if we had Jack on the Rubber Soul one, I think it would have been a little bit more contested.
That would
But
have been a 4v1 though.
yeah. It would have been just like an orgy, and I would have just stepped in and
We'd just be kicking him while he's down, stepping on his
taking it.
face.
"Drive My Car" is a fun song. I'll give it that.
It is a
All
fun
right.
song.
Norwegian Wood's a beautiful song. I
Oh
love it.
my goodness, so good, so good.
Nowhere Man's great. It's a good album. I love it, but I don't think it's their best work by far.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
think you
as
you
other
wouldn't have been
Beatles albums
shitting
crop
on it
up.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like
Let's
Nigel
save
was
this.
this.
But I think that's also like a good exercise, like for all these albums here, like when I listen to them again. Honestly, American Beauty, I don't know if I just listen to live stuff, but
Dude,
like
that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if you were
Yeah,
on
I
the
would.
episode that I brought that up,
you did,
but I
yeah,
was saying like that could get knocked down. Because
yeah.
I probably compared it too much to live stuff when
Mhm.
talking about it, and that's just we said that's not really how we want to look at it. It's the
Yeah,
studio takes.
yeah.
When
For
did
sure.
you see Chicago, Jack?
So I saw Chicago and Earth, Wind, and Fire with like Cam's family, my cousin, and my mom and my sister. Uh, Probably in like sophomore year of high school, no, senior year or like freshman year of college, something like that.
Okay.
Down in Virginia, and it was really one of an
Jiffy Lube.
incredible show at Jiffy Lube. Yeah,
Nice.
Earth, Wind, and Fire was unreal.
Yeah, I can
I
imagine.
saw
That was
That
I
was
awesome.
saw Earth, Wind, and
unbelievable.
Fire. I
Really?
saw them the same day that I saw Blink 182.
What?
Isn't that wild?
What the heck?
They
Who
played
opened for
together
who,
now.
man?
That was at Firefly. That was sick.
That makes sense.
Oh,
Nice.
there you go.
Well, this is going to be hard.
Yeah. Where are we going to settle on this?
If
Is it
there was
better
a
we
than
all
D,
may
Standard
pick
Luncheonette?
They all pick a different letter.
Yeah,
So
I think
Nigel
we
put
need to
this in
add
half.
a D column. It would go in D if there was a D. as far as like
Surprised
notable
you don't put it
classic
now.
Yeah,
rocks.
how is this not an
Um,
F with the way?
no, see, like I don't like the album, but I can appreciate the musicality. Like they're good instrumentalists,
Yeah,
and
there's
like
good
they went for
musicianship.
something
Yeah.
Okay,
outside like
that's
the
fair.
norm. It's not like poorly produced music. It's just doesn't sound good to me, you know.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
Thank you.
yeah,
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying like the there are a couple songs that I like that I'll never listen to again because they're 8 minutes long, and the parts that I like are maybe like 4 minutes long and last for 2 minutes, and then it's like, yeah. So this is a solid D for me if it was there, but I don't know where to put it honestly.
James, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I propose you change F to D. That's kind of I don't know if we have to, but I just say
That
it
feels
because
too harsh.
I'd be good with that. Yeah.
yeah, because like we said, like it's not gonna be until episode like 900 that we start rating F albums. Like there's a lot of good albums to go through before we're gonna pick one that's just blatantly shitty.
Yeah, fair enough.
What's F stand for? Like failure?
Figaro.
I always assume
That's correct.
failure.
Fucking
Yeah.
garbage.
Figaro.
Fucking
D is
shit.
don't ever listen to this again. So I can get behind that.
Well, I'll start. Uh, I don't know if it's as good as London Calling. So I don't know if I'd put it at B. I think it's on par because I love side one and I love side three, but I don't love side four. And I think as an album, I think it's a C for me. On par with Big Pink.
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you. Like, I similarly, I love a bunch of songs from it. I love side one in particular, but an album as a whole, it definitely loses me at enough points to see the other albums on here like clearly being better than it. I might definitely rate it above music from Big Pink though, in my opinion.
So I'm cool with it going C. I'd probably put it behind Music for Big Pink. I would say it's probably my least favorite of the ones we've listened to. So just look at it that way. But to compare to Music from Big Pink, that's another equally kind of like uninspiring album for me. Just like I don't really have that much of an itch to go re-listen to it. So yeah, I'd say low C. It's neat what they do, but like Nigel said, like to me, it didn't sound that harmonious to my ears.
Like if we're
Way to
thinking in
put it.
terms of the album, which is kind of like a fundamental way to rate it, the other
Mhm.
ones are better as albums.
Absolutely. Yep.
I think that
I
settles it.
mean, definitely
Sorry,
a D for
go ahead,
me,
Nigel.
but yeah,
It
you can pull
averages
it
out
down
to
one
I
more.
see.
Well, Inky, did you say yours?
I generally agree with you guys. I think I'm kind of surprised that I'd probably put it the highest out of any of us. I was kind of thinking like splitting the middle right here in between
I was
London
thinking
Calling.
that too.
Yeah, maybe
I don't
behind
like
it.
that guy. I don't know.
I'm just too big
So
of a
that's
Band
why
of
is
Money
that
Men
why you
fan.
put it in front of the band, not behind it?
I think so. Yeah, there seems to be a Dan mentioned it'd probably put it in front of the band too. I think that's I don't know, Seamus, what were you thinking behind?
No, I mean you've probably split the difference between all of us on that,
Yeah,
and I
that's kind of
see, which is where I think it should be. So I'm not really gonna start arguing about ahead or behind this album. Because again, like there's cool things going on in both those albums that we haven't seen, which is why we didn't put them in D, and it's why we don't need an F on the board. But like I said, like to me, the way I look at that is like C. I'd probably say it's an album that I'm not really like dying to listen to again. I mean, not I don't know if I'd say I'm dying to listen to what's in B again, but I was more interested by those albums as I listened to them than these ones.
Yeah. For me, it was
fair
a good
enough.
opportunity to listen to the album again, and I saved all those songs that I really enjoyed. Like I saved 4 or 5 in my active playlist. But I'm not gonna go. I probably won't go back to the rest. I would say, like I have ones that I hold close.
Nigel,
Not
I
a
urge
single,
you-
not a single song made it to my playlist. Not a single one.
I urge you to listen to Chicago 5, one of their other albums. I think you might appreciate it more, maybe. But
I mean, I'll check it out as long as it's not next week. I need a break from Chicago.
I can't get a
It'll be
break from
something different.
Chicago.
Your commitment to listen to that repetitively is admirable, especially after your performance 2 weeks ago where you were listening to it mid podcast.
Oh,
Yeah, I had to step up the game.
No,
How,
but
how
your
long
commitment
is
to
the album, by the
It's
way?
like
72
7
minutes.
hours.
so like an hour and 7 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Something like
Oh my
that.
Hour
goodness.
16 is what I saw on Spotify, I think,
Yeah.
but I could be making that up.
No, you're
I
spot
went
on,
through that
Seamus.
thing a couple times.
Did I actually nail that, Enki?
Hour 16:32.
Wow.
Legend.
Nice.
Yeah, Nigel, Chicago 5 got to the US Billboard #1 position in its time. The album.
That's
So,
the
All
one
right.
with 25
What
or
year? What year was
64,
that?
right?
that
Nah, the Chicago
so,
2 is 25 or 64. I
yeah,
think.
this says Saturday in the Park is their big
Yeah,
single.
yeah, that's the one.
Nigel, this was, I don't know, 72. That's
So not even
They're fucking prolific.
I
so
want to
only
see
3 albums later. I mean 3 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had Chicago 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5.
Yeah.
Prolific.
Prolific is definitely.
Does it
I
sound
mean-
more like put together? You know what I mean when I say like to what Nigel was saying, like more cohesive, or at least does each song sound more cohesive in that one as compared to like the free form on this one? Would you say?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think less freeform if my memory.
I mean, Saturday
No,
in the Park is like
Yeah.
you said, like a big radio
Iconic
song. So
song, yeah.
it can't be that out there. You know what I mean?
I love Saturday in the Park, man. It's a great song.
Yeah, one of their best.
I also love Saturdays in the Park.
It's a great experience.
It is a great experience.
Well, I got nothing to add at this point.
Yeah.
Let's just talk in the group chat this week about what we want to do next week.
Okay.
You want to just
Sounds
flush
good
it out
to me.
now?
Sure.
Or you think
What's
group chat
that?
is fine? Well,
No,
have
we can flesh it out now. A question: do you cut the recordings like before you hit the end record button, or
Yeah,
that
I'm
just?
probably want to
I
include
just
this.
I didn't know if that's what you uploaded or not. Like
No,
from
include
start to finish.
all
when you
this.
cut it.
They want some behind the
Yeah, I
scenes. This
mean,
is going in
this
the
is
this is the
important.
B-roll.
At
This
this
is going
point,
in the
this might
vault.
be worth including.
Behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Behind the scenes, precisely.
This
We
is going
just-
in the
Dude,
time capsule.
if we
Just the
started
fact that
posting
you asked
behind
about
the
it.
scenes YouTube videos at where we are right now, we'd get like half of you on those.
Yeah.
No, this
Uh,
is great content. This is going up.